Howdy everyone, Jordan here, and you're watching The Golden Warrior. So, it is roughly 4:30 in the morning on Saturday, January 4th. Sorry for the... There's a lot of fog on the windows. I woke up at around 3 in the morning from having sleep paralysis. Now, for those of you that don't know, sleep paralysis is somewhat of like an awake / like a sleep dream state where right as you're coming out of the sleep state, it feels like someone's putting a lot of pressure on top of you and you can't move. And sometimes the voices are heard alongside of you. Usually it sounds somewhat kind of like dark demonic whispering type thing, like it's weird. Or if you've ever seen Keanu Reeves' Constantine, that it sounds like hellspeak in that movie. But anyway, so as of lately, I've been having a few different sleep paralysis dreams, and for me that's kind of poignant because when I was younger, in my youth, I had quite a bit of those growing up. And then as I got older, they started to go away and subside, and I didn't have that many types of lucid dreams or just like visual dreams in general. And what's funny is this morning I had one, and then the night before that I had one. And on the night before that, I was hiding in a bush, and some creature or something came up from behind me. I heard like this stirring around, like people walking in leaves and like just brushing at some point in my dream, obviously right before I woke up, and it was like shh, 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 shh. And then as soon as that slow one came about, I knew that the entity was like right behind me. And then I heard this really low masculine, somewhat, again, like a hell speak / like just language that I just didn't understand. Obviously grappled with fear, and then woke up, sleep paralysis movement, like the whole type of thing, and then get up again. And for me, like I tried to go back to sleep. Like I tried to just automatically go back to sleep today. Usually I can just pop right in and go right back to sleep and get a few more hours of sleep. But today wasn't the case. So I thought to myself, I was like, all right, I can either stay here and lay here for probably like another hour and a half to 2 hours trying to get back to sleep, or I can jump up and start my day right now and go and rock house. So that's what I decided to do. So I was extremely quiet, not to wake my girlfriend. She is an extremely light sleeper, and I literally have to be like a mouse that's on like Nimbus from Dragon Ball Z, like with no sound, in order to get anywhere. So I gather up all my things, get my computer, get my phone, get some workout clothes, and then I'm gonna go and head to the gym. And then after I'm done going to the gym, I'm gonna go get a coffee, and then eventually I will head back to my place. Now, mind you, in Los Angeles, the most beautiful and perfect time to drive is actually at 3 a.m. till 5 a.m. There's nobody on the street here in LA. So if you're ever visiting LA and you want a proper time to not actually go through LA traffic, I recommend 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. It's beautiful. Anyway, so I'm gonna start my day off that way, and you know, it's just been running around my head ever since the new year, which is it's January 4th right now, so 2020. Like, what are you planning on doing for this year? You know, like, what is your intention for living for these next 365 days? Not a resolution. Like, what's your intention? Like, what's your overall goal in life? And as of late, for me, it's just quite literally to just live each moment and being grateful, appreciative, have dreams and aspirations, but know that those dreams and aspirations, if they never come to fruition, it doesn't matter because you woke up and you're breathing. Like, I constantly have to remind myself that, life is not bad. It could be a ton worse. And it's all about what you make it and how you make it that determines what's going to happen in your life. Now, that being said, like, I hear a lot like, oh, I don't have enough time in the day in order to get X, Y, and Z done. I don't know what I'm going to do because, I have to do my 9 to 5 and, it just takes so much time and effort to get all this stuff in order, blah, 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 blah. I used to be one of those people. And every now and then I do catch myself in a sense of just like a gluttonous, like I'm not doing anything, a slothful, just, I'm just sit back and it's me time. And that's healthy. Like, you most definitely have to do that. Like, if you don't do that, then you're not giving yourself some self-love and self-care. It's extremely important that you give yourself self-love and self-care. But all in good measure. Like, you have to balance it out. And I've just noticed that, like, I guess maybe here in LA, that there's really like a spectrum of person that doesn't seem that self-aware. And I don't mean like higher enlightened being or anything like that, because anybody that thinks that they're enlightened usually for the most part isn't. I aim to be that way, but I don't think that I am in any way, shape, or form. I do think that I've become a ton more open-minded than what I was in the past. I think that has to do with the fact that I've lived overseas for roughly around 4 years. So I lived in another country, had to understand how that country worked and, and the system within that country, and have traveled like over the world. And when you see other cultures and you experience life outside of the United States, you kind of start to get like a broader horizon of, like just the way the world works, if you will. I mean, it's not the end-all, be-all determinant of, like good nature and prosperity and, success and livelihood. But it does kind of get you grounded. And one thing I've noticed, though, overall is that I was resonating at a lot of fear in 2019. A lot of what I would call organizational, structured, oriented fear. Like, a lot of it was influenced from my past. A lot of it was influenced from, like, the way people had expectations upon me, whether it be from, like, friends and family from hometown or, like, acquaintances from hometown. Not so much friends, because I've got an amazing group of friends back home that have been in my life and have always been a constant support group. To the point where, I mean, I wouldn't even need to see them in 30 years and we could reconnect like it was yesterday. So I'm extremely humbled, extremely grateful for that. Those are my boys, which is, it's brotherly love, which is some radness. But no, like, I was resonating on fear because the fear was coming in of, oh, what do people expect me to do? Like, what is the expectation of, my personality? Because so many people know me as X, thus I have to come off as this type of person. I have to give off this sort of energy. I have to make sure that, I stay, a PC and like all this other bibble babble BS. And in the long run, I would be lying to myself if I fell into that fear pattern. But subconsciously, I was falling into that fear pattern almost every single day at some point in time, and I wasn't being true to myself. I wasn't being true to the emotions and feelings that I was carrying in my heart. I wasn't being true to like God or the universe or whatever you call it. I choose to reference it as God. I don't follow any particular type of denomination, but I've known and felt in my heart since a very young age that there was some sort of omnipresence, omnipotent entity, being, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, that exists beyond time and space. And the reason I came to that understanding, honestly, was through science and mathematics. And from the science and mathematics, it just affirmed the creative nature that I feel every individual in humanity has, because my way of thinking with omnipotence is you have the analytical mind, you have the creative mind. And if you have the analytical mind, the way the analytical mind speaks is through intelligence, analytics, mathematics, science, all that. The creative mind is feeling and emotion and instinct. So you have to be able to process both of those spectrums, and you have to be able to process them not only from both perspectives of, like, you have to understand the intellectual mind from the creative perspective, but you have to understand the creative mind from the intellectual perspective, the creative from the creative perspective, and the intellectual from the intellectual perspective. So the only way to really understand the creative is through emotion, through feeling, and through instinct. And most people nowadays completely understand life through analytical, scientific, mathematic, logical, critical thinking mind. Like that's it. The moment emotion comes into the equation, they totally cut it off. They totally don't access it. They totally just nip it in the bud. Oh no, I can't have feeling. I can't have emotion. I can't be passionate about something, or I can't show that I'm fearful, angry, upset, like determined, like anything, or else I'll be misviewed, I'll be misjudged, I'll be misinterpreted. And the moment they do that, they're cutting themselves off to God, like in every way, shape, and form. If you're just only accessing a personal portion of your being, and you're not like going through the emotion and feeling the emotion, you're unable to release it. You're unable to grow from it, and that emotion, that feeling, gets trapped in your body as trauma. I've experienced this like through and through, and the reason I feel so passionate about this is because I have found it to be true. I have done so much experimentation to try to figure out like what works and what doesn't, and taken advice from so many hundreds of people to then come to this understanding, and have overcome like internal diseases that have haunted me for like a majority of my life. Like I had, for well over 30 years, I had eczema, and like now, like I rarely get a patch of eczema on my left pinky and on in between my big left toe and my little left toe, like on my foot. Like that's it. Like that's the only breakout I get now. Whereas for a majority of my life, 60% of my body was covered in this skin disorder. So, and it was always told to me that it was genetic. So the trip of it is that like I've overcome that, like different adversities in life, like just a slew of different things. And yet I still wake up each day doing my best to be humble, grateful, follow my dreams, move forward, know that life's going to work itself out, that I don't have control over people, places, things, situations, but I do have control over how I react to those situations and what I do with my energy. So I need to go out and be as loving to myself and as to other people as possible, but at the same time not deny truth, not deny love, and really quite literally, change my old habits and patterns in order to be a new and better person than I was yesterday. And a lot of people, like, they just want to live the same day each day, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but there's no growth that goes in that if you just continue living each day the same and not try something new and not try to grow, not be open-minded. So I guess like what I pose to you today is, if you were to do any one thing differently, open up your heart, open up your mind, be receptive to the situations that are happening around you. Don't try to control every outcome, and be patient and tolerant with people that you don't know and that you know personally, especially the ones that might irk you the wrong way and kind of rub you the wrong way, because you don't know what's going on in their life. And if you can show love to another individual, especially when you're not really feeling it yourself, but you know that that's the proper thing to do, in the end, like, that reciprocates. It's happened to me time and time again where I just haven't been into it. I've had like a really, really just crappy day, crappy week, just crappy month, whatever. And I may be at like my 9 to 5 and somebody will roll in who by far, like, on the scale, if you were to put our lives next to each other, they have more financial success, more overall job security, more everything. Like, their entire life on like the traditional Western society's view of success looks like, oh wow, their life is amazing. And then you look at mine and they go, oh wow, his really isn't that compared to his. Like, it's not the same. But I'll be there for that person because in that moment, that person's needing something that only I can give to them. And it's not something that, I mean, this goes for anybody. Like, if you're involved in anybody's life to a point where that person opens up to you personally, professionally, like in any way, shape, or form, and gives you a portion of their heart, gives you a portion of their love, and is confiding in you, that's powerful. I mean, that means that whether or not they show it or not, they may just have the inability to show you that love back, but their ways, you'll become receptive to their ways of loving. It may not be the way that you want it, but you need to know that, like, you made a difference in that person's life. And just for that moment, you might have actually even saved their life, because who knows what they may have been thinking. They could have been suicidal or whatever. So don't ever negate your own presence and your own essence and ability to influence somebody else's life just because your life situation doesn't equate to the way that you envision or dream it to be, because it's the energy that transfers through, and it's acting as if and knowing that all this external stimulus really doesn't matter. It's the things that are in your heart, and it's the connection in your mind, body, and soul and spirit that actually make the difference in a person's life, not what you can give them. And on that, enjoy the rest of your day. It's 4:46 right now, and I'm headed to the gym. I'm going to be going to 24-hour Super Center in Santa Monica, so I'm going to roll down there and crush some weights and then get my day started. So peace out, have fun. If you guys like this video, feel free to subscribe and like it and share it with friends and family, whatever you want to do. You can also check out the Golden Warrior podcast on Apple Podcasts, as well as a slew of different online podcasts. And if you follow at Instagram, you can find me at Jordan Jones Actor. And yeah, man, enjoy the rest of the day and have fun.